Everyone thought punk was dead. After the '77 boom, the genre had stagnated and the bands were considered irrelevant laughingstocks. But deep underground its corpse was twitching, and from the rotten, putrid sludge of punk rose a band that inspired the next generation of both metal and punk rock kids to make a new type of noise. This is how Discharge's debut album Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing upped the ante. Formed in 1977 in Stokeo and Trent, there was no signal Discharge would make a sizable dent in heavy music. They were, as founding guitarist Tony "Bones" Roberts puts it, just listening to The Clash and the Sex Pistols and having a go at doing that. After a series of rudimentary EPs and singles, and numerous lineup changes in their early years, they found a home in the anarcho-punk scene of the early '80s, a small but dedicated haven for individuals who refused to give up on punk's ethics. Discharge continued to evolve, beefing up their sound while also trimming the fat. When they went into the studio to record their debut full-length, they were armed with a set of songs that would shift the goalposts of extremity. "We really hit on something around that time," Bones tells us. "We had gone from sounding like a normal punk band into sounding like something else. It was all natural though. We never tried to sound a certain way, we just started writing sounds about how we felt, and we felt like how that record sounded." The sound of how Discharge felt was alarming, even to fans of extreme music. Songs were short, inhumanly loud, full of violent and brutal images of war and human devastation, and crucially driven by the now infamous D-beat drum pattern. "That wasn't really my thing," shrugs Garry, crediting original member Terence Tezz Roberts with initiating the style. "But I did make a point of playing what felt right for me. It was slightly different to the original singles, which was intentional, I guess." Another key component of Hear Nothing was thematic, with the band's disgust at Thatcherite Britain, paranoia from the threat of nuclear war, and humanity's self-destructive tendencies, all distilled into a series of brutally blunt slogans. The title track repeats the lines "lied to, threatened, cheated and deceived, hear nothing, see nothing, say nothing, led up garden paths and into blind alleys, hear nothing, see nothing, say nothing." As the first signings to Clay, the Stoke-on-Trent based label, run out of a local record shop, the band were not afforded much time in the studio, instead getting it out in one take or so, like we always did, according to Bones. Regardless, the results were staggering. In around 25 minutes, Discharge had chewed up GBH, Motorhead, Venom, and their own unique brand of nihilism and spat it back out into the world's face. Hear Nothing would be a watershed moment. At a time when punk and metal were mortal enemies, they blurred the lines completely. The band themselves had no idea what they had achieved. "It wasn't planned," says Garry. "I just thought it was super cool and turned it up full blast and was off in a little world of my own. It just evolved from the music we were listening to and our punk roots." Initially, the record was met with confusion and some hostility. That all changed when the band were adopted by the UK's ultimate tastemaker. "I'm not sure everyone got it at first, because they didn't know if we were punk or metal," Bones sniffs. "I've never cared about any of that stuff personally, but then John Peel played us on Radio 1 and, I mean, that was a real honor. Things changed from then. I would go down the pub and people would be telling me they heard us on the radio. We got a real boost from that." The influence on thrash and crossover was meteoric, and within a few years deep beat even became known as its own subgenre, as hundreds of bands from all over the world tried to recreate the iconic sound. Many even adopted the dis prefix in their name. Plagiarism had never been so shameless. The best bands were those who took Discharge's ethos and pushed it further. "What's more interesting to me is when people try to find their own original voice of intensity," says Steve. "I can tell you for a fact that there'd be no Neurosis without Discharge. The way they influenced us was that they sounded like screams of anguish, screams of war, screams of where humanity is headed. They were perfect for that." Songs from Hear Nothing have been covered by everyone from Metallica to Sepultura to Machine Head to Anthrax, and there's no doubt its legacy is set in stone.